the limits of human exposure to radio frequency electromagnetic energy in the frequency range from 3 kHz to 300 GHz, known as Safety Code 6, or SC6, is along with some other countries such as the US and Great Britain, is one of the least protective in terms of radio frequency exposure of any country, if one can refer to any RF standard, based on the thermal effects of radiation as protective. If the consequences of exposure were not so serious, their limits would be laughable. Despite how inadequate Safety Code 6 is, it and the accompanying support documents from Industry Canada, as it now calls itself, Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, have some surprising strengths in terms of the government's own words and important warnings regarding exposure. At one time, the public rarely needed to be concerned about anything other than the far-field exposure, which is twice the maximum dimension of the antenna divided by the wavelength, where an electromagnetic source, the electric field strength represented with E, magnetic field strength represented with H, and power density, PD, are interrelated by simple mathematical expressions. Here, any one of the parameters defines the remaining two. For the techies among you, the calculation uses the impedance of free space at 377 ohms, or E squared divided by 377 equals power density. Now, with so many personal communication devices and even cell towers constructed within heavily populated communities, the near-field zone is an important concern. There is a third zone, often referred to as the intermediate or transition zone. In this zone, while the concerns and cautions are not as serious as they are in the near field, prudence supports the precautionary principle, and the special measurement practices of the near field zone should be used. Health Canada Safety Code 6 notes, in the near field zone, both the unperturbed electric and magnetic field strengths shall be measured, since there is no simple relationship between these two quantities. Instrumentation for the measurement of magnetic fields at certain frequencies may not be commercially available. These concerns will even be greater when the new 5G networks are implemented, with their expected 60 GHz frequencies, and because of the short distance between these units will transmit, there will be more transmitting locations closer to the population. Some people will be perpetually within the near-field zone of one of these devices, transmitting at power levels that may be at or even greater than the weak Safety Code 6 limits are offered. A number of expert authorities, including Industry Canada and the BC Centre for Disease Control, suggest that both the E and H values cannot be measured in a number of locations. The assumed power density should be 4 times the calculated amount. Dr. Robert Kane, former research scientist at Motorola and author of Cellular Telephone Russian Roulette, stated the near-field effect should be considered as 10 to 100 times the density. The reason why most meter manuals have a note addressing the special characteristics of the near-field zone, and noting their meters cannot measure electromagnetic radiation in this zone properly. Even after applying the most commonly accepted multiplier factor of 4, the best the meters will provide is an approximation of the relative intensity.